we give thanks. The heavens proclaim the glory of God, the skies display his craftsmanship. Psalm 19 uses poetic language that inspires awe within us. It speaks of God's glory shining through creation and through God's law. Experiences of awe remind us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. We have all been in awe of creation at one point or another. Maybe it was the lunar eclipse this week. I did not get up at whatever hour of the morning it was, but I saw pictures. My husband did get up. He said it was too cloudy, so that's why I didn't get up. But the experience is always more awe-inspiring when you actually experience in person. You're able to experience it with all of your senses and not just a second snapshot of just that 1 second in time where you only use your eyes. It's kind of like the total eclipse, solar eclipse last spring. I had seen one on television before when the last one had been around, but sitting outside during the event helped me realize all that I had missed at that one before when I watched on TV. You don't know when you're watching on TV that the temperature drops. It actually gets colder. The birds and the animals become quiet, and the night creatures begin to make noise, thinking that night is coming. It's more meaningful, it does more for you when you're seeing it with all of your senses. The psalmist writes, day after day they continue to speak. Night after night they make him known. Each day the sun comes up and the sun sets. But for us that becomes routine. We expect it. We lose the mystery of that. To experience nature fully, you need to get outside. It's one thing to look through the window. It's another to be outside and surrounded by God's creation, experiencing it with all of your senses. Yet when the routine experiences a break, kind of like stopping for an eclipse, it breaks our routine and we're more likely to notice and to be awed. Blogger Stephanie Duncan Smith describes the awe that she felt watching a total solar eclipse. She and her husband Zach hiked up a ridge with their little fancy, protective glasses. And she said that she won't forget the way that the sun just dimmed, snuffed out, the way the birds swooped in, confused thinking that it was nightfall, the magic of witnessing the cosmic event together. But then she goes on to share something that happens. She said, not everyone felt that way. A high-profile CEO tweeted at the time that while everyone else might be staring at the sky through those little cereal boxes, she would be in the office making millions. Can you imagine being bored by the thoughts of beholding something bigger than yourself? Something wild and other and alive? Imagine considering yourself above the cosmic orbit in which you make your heavenly home, or your creaturely home. So the executive considered herself too busy to be bothered by the wonder of a world outside of herself. She was opting for the security of the measurable, the predictable, all that can be calculated and forecast and scaled. Yet by doing so, she was opting out of the sheer gift of being wowed. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that we would ask what we would do if the stars only came out once every 1,000 years. No one would sleep that night, of course, a once-in-a-lifetime event. We would be ecstatic, delirious, make rapturous by the glory of God. Instead, the stars come out every night, and we choose to watch television. Every single night there's a cosmic event. Every night there's an invitation to participate in what psychologists refer to as the experience of perceived vastness or awe. Yet we tend to tune it all out because of the familiar. These events create a sense of reverence and humility. They help us to recognize how small we are. We're not the creator of all that is. We can't even conceive the number of galaxies that exist. We experience awe when we recognize just how truly small we are. Well, those were backward. There's your solar eclipse. All right. You know, that's one of the things I love about a beach vacation. I love the ocean. You know, just sitting on the beach, and now you look out, and there's water as far as you can see. This big expanse, and here I am, and I feel small. I remember that God created all that I can see at that moment, and I'm more like a drop of water in the ocean or a grain of sand on the beach. Moments of awe help us to find meaning. Human brains are wired to make sense of everything. We seek to find meaning in things. We yearn to be fulfilled, and we want to understand why we are here. We seek meaning for our lives. People often assume that meaning is something that we discover once and we're done. We find it and we're good for the rest of our lives. But meaning doesn't work like that. We hear that expressed in Psalm 19. Day after day they continue to speak. Night after night they make him known. Meaning is not a one single answer to a single question. The spiritual pursuit of meaning goes much deeper than that. We don't search for meaning to satisfy our curiosity. We search for meaning in order to find a deeper reason for living. The search for meaning is the search for what it is that continues to give us reasons to keep living, to keep getting up every morning, to keep asking, to keep searching, to keep exploring, and to keep loving. Which means that finding meaning helps to give us hope. Finding meaning leads to the understanding that we are not alone, that we are small, and that creation is so much larger than we are. Experiences of awe typically come with a sense that we are part of something bigger and more complicated than we can fully understand. Awe reminds us that everything is not about us. Finding meaning comes in many ways and many experiences. Psalm 19 attempts to put meaning into words. Sometimes our experiences teach us that words just are not sufficient. Words cannot fully describe the indescribable. Sometimes we find meaning about God when there are no words. We come to know more about God when we are paralyzed, speechless, and amazed. Those moments when we sense with awe the splendor and the importance of a moment or an encounter. These are often called meaningful and memorable moments. You know, repetition, having something over and over, is good for your memory. It drives it home. Tremendous and unusual moments tend to fuse that moment into our brains, though. That one unknown, meaningful and memorable moment really gets seared into our brain in a way that stays. That's why you can vividly remember some of those great moments in your life. There are moments such as a ritual. You might have noticed that in our Visio Divina. Those were water and stones and things that are part of ritual that connect you back to those moments. Or once in a lifetime event with the family and friends, those will do it as well. Maybe a wedding or a graduation, or when a loved one passes. Did you know Jesus had meaningful and memorable moments in his life as well? One of them was his baptism. At his baptism, Jesus experienced, this comes from Matthew, the heavens were opened to him, and he saw God's Spirit descending like a dove and alighting on him. And a voice from the heavens said, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." An awe-inspiring mystery. and one that would have been driven into his memory. Jesus also understood that there are moments that just can't be put into words, and there are concepts that cannot be fully described using words. God is often beyond anything we can describe with our words. Jesus understood that about the kingdom of God. It just can't be put into words. It can't fully grasp the concept. And that's why Jesus used metaphors to describe it. Things that could give us an idea. Jesus often said the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed, like yeast, like treasure, like a landowner, like a pearl, like a wedding feast. They all seem so different, but yet they all describe the kingdom of God. But of course, the kingdom of God isn't really any of those particular things. Those are metaphors, each one intended to help us understand something about the kingdom of God. These stories are the way that Jesus tried to help us find meaning. Jesus used metaphors from ordinary life that people could relate to and could understand. If you don't know what it is, it doesn't help you understand what he's getting at. So these metaphors help do two things. They taught us about God's realm, but they also help us find meaning and purpose all around us. All these ordinary things can teach us about God. We just need to keep our senses open to what God has placed around us. All right, somebody didn't do very good with their slides last night. What? I was wanting the one that said meaning. Or no, go back, I want the other, yeah. There we go. All right, lesson, do these before at 9 o'clock at night. All right, so Jesus was trying to help us find meaning and find purpose with what he was doing. But what is the difference between the two? Sometimes we think finding our meaning is finding our purpose, but they're two different things. Finding meaning is about understanding and making sense of your life. It's discovering what resonates with you emotionally and spiritually. So when you find meaning, you're basically figuring out the why behind your experiences and your existence. Then you can integrate it into your decision-making and direction setting. It's a subjective understanding that makes life feel more significant. For instance, someone might find meaning in their role as a parent, the beauty of nature, or their ability to overcome adversity. It's like looking in that vast starry sky and feeling a sense of wonder and connection to something larger than yourself. Finding purpose, on the other hand, is more action-oriented. It's about defining a clear aim or goal that drives you forward. Purpose is your sense of direction, the role you feel you're meant to play in life, whether it's a profession, a passion, or a cause that you're dedicated to. It's like having a compass pointing you towards a specific path, motivating your actions and your decisions. For example, a person might find purpose in pursuing a career in counseling, aiming to improve mental health awareness, or striving to address a specific need in their community. Here's another way to look at it. The work that I do as a pastor gives me a sense of purpose. I find meaning, though, in my relationships with family, congregants, friends, and of course, with Jesus. Meaning is about understanding an emotional connection to your life and the world around you. Meaning helps you find reason to value your life, to get up in the morning. Purpose is about intention and direction in your actions. Purpose provides the motivation and the direction to act in a way that reflects your values and your passions. So meaning helps you find your purpose. They need to kind of connect. They're both essential and they both play an important role. All right, so now, there we go. So meaning gives you a reason to get up in the morning. Scientists are learning that finding meaning is good for mental health, imagine it. Meaning provides resilience. When life throws you a curveball, meaning keeps you going. Meaning gives you a sense of direction, a sense of purpose. I think of it kind of like a compass. It helps point you in the right direction. Meaning helps you feel connected to something bigger than yourself. This helps you combat those fears of loneliness and isolation that we've been hearing are also common right now. And it makes the world feel more welcoming, more friendly. Meaning also helps to increase your motivation. It's the reason that helps you know why you're doing what you're doing. You know, they always say start with why, because why matters, and that's your meaning. Maybe you don't know what brings you meaning yet. The search for meaning is meaningful in itself. And say, well, I don't know, and I don't know where to start. Well, you can reflect on two questions. What makes your heart sing? And what makes your heart sink? So what things point to your meaning and what things are definitely not your meaning. The first one points you in the right direction, and the second one keeps you from heading in the wrong direction. And you know, we think it's that once we find meaning we're done, but the search for meaning is never over. We need to remember it's not a one-time thing. The more that we find meaning, the more searching we need to do to clarify it more in order to come to fully understand it. And so we may need to ask those two questions again and again at different points in our lives. I once had a conversation with someone about faith. And so he said he used the metaphor of an onion. He says that faith was like an onion. Okay, that raised some curiosity in me, right? He says you come to understand something about faith. It's kind of like peeling a layer off the onion. But you still don't fully understand. There's still more there, still more onion. You can't get to see the middle. So you have to peel another layer and another layer and another layer. So we have this awe-inspiring moment, and we find a layer of meaning. And then some other point, we have another awe-inspiring moment, and so we peel off another layer, and another one, and we peel off another layer, and we go on and on. While meaning gives us hope and a reason to keep living, and to keep asking and exploring and loving, meaning is not a destination that we're intended to reach. And break it to you, probably won't fully get there. Meaning is something that we come to more clearly understand one layer at a time. As we search for meaning, we need to be attentive, though. We need to keep our eyes and our ears open so that we don't miss those awe-inspiring moments. Can you imagine missing something like the total eclipse just because you wanted to work? Each such moment helps to peel off another layer and refine our sense of meaning. And we need to keep asking those two questions. What makes your heart sing and what makes your heart sink? So we need to find things and activities that inspire awe within us. Maybe it's a new spiritual practice to adapt, like Visio Divina. Something or someplace that brings you joy, someone that you enjoy being with. Notice what those awe-inspiring things are for you. Different things inspire awe for different people. I received a picture texted to me this week. The person said, "This inspires awe for me at least." So does that little flower popping up through the ground, that first one of the year, does that inspire awe in you? Maybe, maybe not. If not, what is it for you? But then, once you find that thing that inspires the awe, like that person, you need to share it so others can be filled with awe as well. Those little awe moments are not meant to be stored up for you. They're meant to be shared. And they're all intended to help us recognize that we're part of something bigger. We are not alone, and we all have a meaning in life.